start, you were sitting out here once upon a time, and you made a decision to apply for the award. So why did you do that? And I'm going to start with Megan this time.
So my name is Megan McCurdy-Needens. I'm auctioneer and COO at McCurdy Auction, McCurdy Real Estate and Auction officially. We are full-time, about 35 people plus or minus, so not huge, but falls, I'm glad again to have those tiers because that's not the same as 100 employees. From the perspective of why, I'll be very honest, I wasn't super personally familiar with this program until we were nominated. And then it was kind of like, oh, well, hold on, what exactly is this? And you start digging in and you start learning a little bit more. I'm being honest. And it's really a cool program, very, very cool program. And so I think that first I think we felt honored to be nominated. So we took the next step.
Okay. I'm Pat with Shaken Assured Bartending. I've been in operations since 2015. And we're about, right now, as far as employees go, we have about 35 people on W-2s. But as Megan was saying, that equates to about maybe 3 or 4 full-time people because we're a side gig for everybody. We don't hire any full-time bartenders and stuff. So that comes down. But yeah, we've been operating since 2015. We won last year, but it was our second time being nominated. We didn't make it into the even the finals the first time we did it. And my whole theory is when we got nominated this last time, I was like, oh, I don't want to do this again. So mainly just ego. But it turned out, and I'm glad I did. It was a great process going through it all the way through. This time we took it to heart. We decided we're going to do it. We're going to throw our whole hearts into it. And when we did that, I found out stuff about my company I didn't know about before because I didn't dive into it. And it was fun and it was rewarding.
I'm Jeremy from Wichita Brewing Company. We've been around since 2011. We have brew pubs on each side of town, an event venue on the east side, and a production facility where we produce and package most of our beer. The why, I think I'll second the ego. It was our third time being nominated. And as I argue with my wife frequently, everything in life is a competition and I wanted to win.
I like your style. I like to win too. So I won the first time. It is doable. So those of you who it's your first time, it is doable. So I want to talk to you, Pat. I'm going to ask you this question first, but I'm going to tell a story first because I'm the moderator. I get to do that. So I know when I went through the application process, I learned a lot of things about my company. You just said you did. One of the things I learned, which I thought was funny that she put it up here, if I had tried to fill out all of those benefits, I've had none because the people that worked for me all had health insurance through their husband, spouse, whatever. So I would have been like, what do I do? And when I met with my team and asked them what they liked about working with me, their number one favorite thing was that sometimes when I was out at a client on my way back, I stopped and brought them Sonic. And I had no idea how much that meant to them until this application process. So I just wanted a Diet Coke. Sam's laughing at me back there. And I just needed a Diet Coke desperately. And then I felt rude to not bring one back for the people I cared about. So I did that. So you said you learned some things about your company when you started filling it out. So tell us what some of those were, and then we'll let Jeremy in.
One of the things I learned is I never give away free drinks. So,
well, yeah.
I think one of the biggest things is you're going through the process and you've got to do your financials. And when you're doing those financials, it's not as extensive as if you were going for a loan or anything like that or putting in things, but it makes you go through it almost as if you are. And when I went through there and I was doing my yearly financials from year to year, which is what they want to see where you were for the past 3 or 4 years. I can't remember. I did that and it was all straightforward. Yep, here's those numbers, here's those numbers. And then I noticed a couple of things within the change of income from one year to the other. And although I didn't need it, I just started diving into my books going, well, why did that happen? And I found out that there were a few customers in there that we had one year and we didn't have another year. And I'm like, well, why didn't we get those this year? So I even went further down the rabbit hole then, which I think I stayed up till 2 a.m. until I got to step 5. But then I found out that's why I didn't get those folks. And I was able to go back over the next month and regain those customers again. So it was very helpful.
How about you, Jeremy? Did you learn anything new about your business?
I think we're always learning new things about our business every day, at least if you're actively involved. I think, well, first, certainly don't let the application process be a barrier at all. It's really, it's not that difficult. And really not that time consuming. I think thinking back, what I remember the most, at least about the application process, writing the narratives, I added headlines, that WBC has been in the news for various reasons over the years, and I was adding those kind of as an appendix to the application. I'm generally pretty uncomfortable patting myself on the back, especially in public, but it was kind of nice to go back kind of down memory lane and remember all the things that we've done, events that we've organized, things we've done for the city and whatnot. So I found that to be very valuable.
That's awesome. Megan?
So it's one of those things, I wouldn't say that it's one thing, just overall, it was really for me about the narratives. And when you start going into your business and start figuring out who you are, when I joined the business full time, there was, I think, 8 or 9 of us full time in the business, and 4 of us had the last name McCurdy. So we weren't very diverse. And as we started applying, it's like, oh wow, like now that we're at 35, I mean, we are very diverse, and whether that be all different aspects of who our team was, and different things that people bring to the table. And it started making me realize how unique our team was and how we all had different skill sets, and that actually led to us actually updating our mission statement, updating our vision statement, updating our core values, kind of from realizing that we're not that small mom and pop shop that we once were, that we really had grown, and our business and our culture and all of that had grown with us, and our benefits package had grown with us, and what we offered at the beginning versus what we offer now. And that's now a formal package that we offer with employment. And I think this was a part of all of that.
That's so awesome. And I love hearing that story. So let me ask you now, I'm gonna start with you, Jeremy. When you were going through the application process, how did you engage your team in this process?
So the first 2 times we were nominated, select team members do a lot of the work and a lot of the writing. And I don't believe we even became finalists. So last year, I did everything myself. And lo and behold, we won.
There.
I didn't even take the drafts from previous year's narratives. I just blank slated.
Okay. What about you, Pat?
Well, the first time I did it all by myself and I didn't make the finals. So second time, so my wife works with me within the business as much as she can with her job. And then I have 1 full-time staff. And this time, as I was going through my numbers and I was trying to work things out of where we were at certain places, I would bring them in. And my wife's not very good at being a team member without being the coach. It's like she's telling me where to go, it's okay. But no, that helped because the little hints they said, well, remember, this is where this was at that point in time. And I was like, that's right. And so when I was writing my narratives out, I was able to better describe why a certain number was happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just remember, so because we were both tier 1. I mean, I was the old tier 1 and he was the new tier 1. But tier 1, it can feel like when you look at these things, if you're in tier 1, it can feel like, oh, I don't have all of that. This is very intimidating. I don't have a SWOT analysis. I don't have how can I be diverse? It's me and 2 other people. And so, really you can be creative about that. In that process, I wasn't thinking about, well, I'm a woman and I own a tech company, so that's why it's diverse. I was thinking about, who do I serve that's diverse? And so you can make these questions your own. How do you engage your employees? It might not be that you have a training program for them, although Affinity Automotive did. And that's one of the reasons they won, is the training program they had. But each business, you guys have your own specific, unique things that you're doing. So what about you? What about
engaging our team? I think the first year, our in-house counsel actually wrote the narratives. That's the wrong person to have write them. Specifically, sorry for attorneys, but they're boring. And he was not the right guy. But he gave good answers. And actually, I think we did make the finals. But our second year, our marketing director jumped in and she's like, no, I'm going to make it pretty. And I think even she made pictures. Everything was color coded, the different narratives. And she really wanted to, marketing sells things better than attorneys do. So that was kind of the second year is going all in. And then insight or on in-house visit, when the judges do come to you, we did a full team and it was a lot of fun. And we actually had been telling them different things about our business along the way, and they were winning what we call McCurdy money. And then we had an auction at the end where they got to buy stuff with the McCurdy money. And so we really like engaged them with our business. Our whole staff was in the room, had a blast. Everybody was laughing. We really did want the whole team to show them who McCurdy was.
Okay, well, that's a great lead into my next question. And they did not get these questions ahead of time either. So it's amazing. But site visits. So you'll see in there's an opportunity to visit your site. And I remember thinking, what are you going to see? I don't make a product. I don't serve people food. I literally build databases. And that's kind of boring if you're not a data nerd like me. But we gave everybody Sonic, of course, and then we just went through a discussion about how people can use data in their business just to educate the judges. So that's what it looked like for us, because we're not in the entertainment industry or hospitality or anything else. I know some of you guys are, so tell us what you did. You have a mic. She already has told her answer. So what'd you guys do?
We had a lot of fun with our site visit. The judges came to our production facility, which is near Herring, Washington. It's a 17,000 square foot facility where we make the majority of our beer. So we just turned it into a rager. Well, it was a really fun experience. The judges were engaging, asked a lot of great questions. We talked about things that we would have done differently had we had the opportunity to do it again. We did have a couple of beers, but nothing too crazy. We talked about fun things like capital structure and debt versus equity. It was a fun experience, and the judges were really pleasant to be around and asked a lot of smart questions, and it was enjoyable.
Yeah, so I think as you think about the site visit, if you are a finalist, lots of people who've gone before you will be happy to answer and talk to you about what they've done to help you get ideas. But the thing I've heard, and I think I asked Angie Elliott this one time in one of these, I said, what did all the winners have in common? And she said they were all genuine. They were all genuine. So whatever their business was, they were genuine about, oh, you're sitting right there. Yeah. So that's what you said, right?
That's great.
See, I'm the chamber chair now. No, I'm just kidding. No, and that's true. And that's probably why you're here, because you've been genuine with people. So after you won the award, tell us how you used it to market your business. And I'll start with Megan.
I think, and obviously the normal things of the videos and the pushing and the social media and then that type of thing. I think where it's really changed to me is I've gotten to be involved in now the committee, now actually being on the chamber board. It's opened the door to so many new relationships, to more involvement in the chamber. And so it's not just about marketing the company as it has been really just giving us more exposure overall with small businesses in Wichita and getting to know a lot of people. So there's the normal marketing steps, but then there's also you get out of it what you put into it. And so if you will, if you participate in this and you really do establish and create relationships and take those to the next step, that lasts for years longer than that year that you won.
So it's an interesting question there, because it's one that I never considered while I was going to get the award, right? You're working towards getting it, you're doing everything, and then all of a sudden you have your site visit, you have the judges, and then you're done, right? You're really done until the judging comes up, and then we won, and I told my staff, I'm like, okay, if we win, I'm taking you all to the Scotch and Sirloin. So we went to the Scotch and Sirloin, and we drank a couple bottles of wine. We went back to the Shell, and we had some more, woke up the next morning with a hangover, and we're like, hey, I won, and then the computer started going off with work. I'm like, yeah, but I'm back at work. Here we go. But once we won, I talked with my marketing company. I have a great marketing company, but I talked to the marketing company. We did a few things, and it was really talking with past winners. I talked with McCurdy Auction quite a bit, and they would tell me this is what we did, and we did this wrong. We started this too late. I talked to the folks, we did this right away. So from talking with past winners on what mistakes they did or didn't use for their marketing after they won the award, we found out exactly what to do. So I got with my folks, I said, this is what I want to do. What do you think? And we developed a plan and went forward from there. But once the process is done, whether you win or lose, talk to former people that have gone up and whether they've won or lost and what they've done. And it's a wealth of knowledge and it'll help you.
How about you, Jeremy?
Of course, we use winning, and actually not just winning, just becoming a finalist. Just becoming a finalist, you get nearly as much exposure as the winner does. But sharing photos and videos on social media and that sort of thing. I think in terms of the most impactful thing, and it's not an outward marketing thing, but it gave me a real tangible way of kind of impressing upon my staff, and particularly my management staff, that we aren't just on an island in a restaurant, tossing dough and serving people. The community as a whole is watching, and we can have an impact. It's more than just serving people in a restaurant. We're involved in the city. We're members of the business community and the community at large, and winning the award kind of helped explain that.
And now you know why they won right there in that statement, because that's really what the small business award winners, that's what they all say. I'll tell you that one of my favorite things about this award program is walking into a business that's won and seeing they often have their award somewhere near the front of their building. So you get to see it when you walk in, and knowing, that they did not just pay a fee to somebody to get an award, they earned it. And you might ask, why do we go through some of the steps that we require, like having a third-party audit firm check your financials? It's because we want this award to mean something in this community. So if your name is next to it, we know that your business is a valid business and has no concerns and is moving forward strong, and we're awarding that as well. And we're putting our name on you, and you're putting your name on us. And we want to be faithful in that, investing in you in that way. So let's see. We're going to open this up for Q&A in a minute. So start thinking about your questions. But I wonder, Pat, do you have any final thoughts or words of encouragement for the nominees?
Yeah. The one thing, it's not hard for me. You're all out here because you own your own businesses. You started your businesses for a reason, and you're sitting in this room because somebody else gave you valuation, right? They said, hey, this company needs to be put up for an award, right? So one, when you walk out of here today, pat yourself on the back, sit down, go home, have a drink. Just know that you've already won something. You've won respect from somebody. But get excited about the damn business, right? When they're out there, when they're talking to you, when you're filling out your numbers and stuff like that, get super energized, right? Because you're already respected, right? And you want the judges to know how you feel about your business. When you have your site visit, put your best foot forward. Bring your employees in, get excited about them. When you're sitting there until 1 a.m. writing out your stuff, those narratives are important, right? The numbers are the numbers. They're already there. You can't do anything about your numbers anymore, so just put them down on a piece of paper, right? But when you write those narratives out, explain them. Because the judges are going to decipher what you write in that narrative compared to your numbers. They're going to figure out why you got where you're at. Okay. And if it doesn't fit in, I noticed that, when I was going through and I put through my comments afterwards in the critiques, that there's certain questions that you can't fit a round peg into a round hole. You have to kind of squeeze that round peg into a little bit of a square hole or a triangle for yourself. But the judges are smart folks, right? They're going to read your narrative and they're going to go, this is what they meant. This is what they're doing. Okay. So although it's marketing in general, get excited about the business. If you're excited about the process, it's going to show.
Jeremy?
I think I would kind of play off some previous comments. You may not have an attorney on retainer, or you may not offer a comprehensive health insurance package or whatever. The fact of the matter is you were nominated by someone for a reason, and you deserve to be here. So don't let any sort of apprehension or lack of confidence sway you away from participating in the program, because you absolutely deserve to participate in it and be in this room. So I would say just dive in, give it your best effort, because you should be here.
She gave me the mic. So So I think anytime you compete, competition is good. It's good for you. I used to be actually a competitive auctioneer, and auctioneers had asked me, like, why would you do that? Like, why would you put yourself on that stage and put yourself under that kind of pressure? Because it's not about whether or not you win. It's about no matter what, you will come out of the other side of that a better, more experienced, more self-aware business. When you have to go through and look and analyze and really give narratives on all these different areas, you say, hey, wow, I didn't realize we were quite that strong there. Or, hey, wow, we're a little weaker there than I would have anticipated or want to be. And so at the end of the day, you'll end up a much better business, more aware business of where you're at, what your strengths are, maybe what your weaknesses are. And it's not about winning the award. It's about how can you use that to change your business later.
Such a great word. And then I'm just also going to say, you all survived 2020. Like, come on. How many businesses left? They went out of business because they couldn't make it. Right. And you didn't. You found a way to keep going. And some of you, even some of you on this stage, were completely shut down by the government, and you still found a way to keep going. And even if there hadn't been a pandemic, before the pandemic, you were doing that every day. I often say this. I've said it to John. I've said it to the board many, many times. You are the unseen heroes of Wichita. You get up every day. Most of the time, nobody sees what you're doing. You would pay your employees before you pay yourself, most of you. You would make sure that they got the rate that they needed, that their families were taken care of. You would do that before you would take care of yourself. Now, I'm not saying I want you to keep doing that. We all need to get to be better businesses and be able to take care of ourselves too, so we can take care of those people. But that's the kind of people you are. You're sacrificial and you care about the people that work for you. And we love you, and we are excited that you are part of this program. So we've talked enough. We're going to let you guys ask Q&A. So who has a question? Oh, I've got one right here, right away, immediately.
I have 2 questions. Do you know in advance who the judges and auditor firm is? And will one of these 3 be a future chamber chair?
Oh, well, let's see. Who the judges are, I never knew until they showed up. So I think when they show up there, that's you find out who your judge is. They do, and I'll let Chelsea talk about who I will say our past chair that just finished, Damon Young, was the leader of Mahaney, who won the year after I did. So I'm the second chamber chair who's been a small business award winner. And about half of our board members have been on the chamber board. In fact, you are. So let's just see if any of them have. You said you wanted them to answer, so we'll let them answer.
I guess the future will see.
Yeah, I don't know. Of course, I wasn't in the old tier one, so I didn't make it right away on my first try, but I heard it was easier than. We'll see what happens.
I don't believe I'm qualified to be chamber chair.
Speaking of the accounting firm, you guys always use the same accounting firm? So I'm sure Chelsea would tell you behind the scenes. I don't know if you publicly do that, but we knew.
We historically worked with Fortis, formerly DKE. So that's who we intend to work with again. And then, yes, like Joyce said, you won't know the judges until the site visit. We don't necessarily ask them to keep it a secret. If they're available, they'll come to the showcase and they'll come to the Sunrise Scrambler. But those 2 things aren't part of the judging process, so we don't require them to be there. And again, we don't require them to not say they're not a judge, but some of them like the secrecy of it until they get to a location. So, and we do have a panel of 3 judges for each tier. So there's a total of 9 judges, but the panel for tier 1, those 3 judges review the applications, go to the site visits, do the final evaluation, and then the same for the other 2 tiers. So it's a group of 3 judges, individual to each tier. And they're made up of business and community leaders. Thank you.
Other questions?
How do you guys feel the community at large responded to your businesses?
Yeah, quite well. I mean, we got notice, of course, within the first few weeks afterwards, people were really, reaching out and congratulating and stuff like that. And then it took a little bit of a lull, but I was happy to see that they came right back. And I think part of that comes back to the question I answered earlier on how did you take advantage of the award and marketing wise after that? We're all busy folks, so is the rest of the business community out there. So once you remind them, hey, look at me, they did, and they responded well to it.
I would echo that same thing. I don't know it.
So when I was, I think it was after I won, or maybe when I was a finalist, I actually had a few businesses in town send me a gift and a note, which I thought, did you too?
Yeah.
So that was really cool. Some of them were people I wouldn't have expected. So that was really fun.
What do you bought Sonic for?
Well, at the expo, I will tell this story. My cousin works for Sonic in Oklahoma City. So I emailed her and said, hey, how can I get some of those coins so I can give those out at the expo? And Sonic sent us 150 free coins that we still have a few that we have to employees and stuff. So that was kind of cool.
Other questions?
I have a question, one more for Chelsea. It's on the application on the ownership part, nonprofit. How do you handle that?
Yeah. So that's a great question, Ben. Thank you. So, and this will actually, I'm going to say one thing first, and then I'll come to your question. So, one thing I forgot to mention in the beginning, and Samantha texted me and reminded me, so thank you, is to review the criteria. We don't want you to spend time on the application if you end up not actually being eligible. So review the criteria. The nonprofit one is a great question because you'll see on there where it says the majority of your revenue cannot come from donors. So it has to come, you have to have a different revenue source than donations. And we have had 501c6s and nonprofits participate in the past because the majority of their revenue is coming from membership fees or some other type of due situation and not donations. So your specific question, let me look at one of the applications last year and tell you exactly how we handled that. So I don't tell you wrong, but it's a great question. And again, if any of you are in that same thing where, you're actually a not-for-profit organization, you might still be eligible again, depending on your revenue sources. And so again, that's just a good reminder to check the criteria. Make sure you're eligible based on the number of years you've been in business, the revenue, those, where you're headquartered at, those sorts of things, because we want to value your time.
Other questions?
We have time for some more. I haven't gotten the cutoff yet.
So, is the main criteria for winning an increase over time in profit margin, revenue, teams, whatever? So if no one's if they're just steady, are you good? If you're growing, are you good? In what area?
I think my understanding of the program is that it's an overall look at the business as a whole. And so obviously in 2020, people lost money. There have been companies that have lost gross revenue or gross profit year over year in the past that have won because they had a reason for it. Like they were making an investment here and then they were expecting it to pay off, but it's the overall look of the business, what they do and how they contribute.
And so to go on what Joy said, Lee, for your question. So you'll see in there's 5 criteria that the judges really look at. They look at, of course, your step 1 through 5, but in those 5 narrative criteria, like they were talking about, the judges are really going to look at that. And then you also have to know that the judges are looking at your application as a small business in comparison to the other 5, 6, 7 applications that are also in your tier. And so the judges will score and evaluate the different things in your application. And they're also looking at the businesses that are in your tier that have applied. And they're also thinking about, okay, a business of this size, what are the things that they should probably be doing? And 2, exactly, it might be that there was a down revenue or profitability, but there was a reason for it. So it's never this business has grown year after year after year because there might be some other thing that a different business showcased something different that the judges evaluated.
I believe there's a bubble to provide some extra content or context besides just entering the numbers as well. And think about like Pat and I last year, I believe we were working off of financials from 19, 20, 21, right through the heart of COVID. So there was some pretty wild, wacky stuff taking place in terms of revenue and cash flow.
Other questions?
So, this made me think about it when Megan was talking about their application. So Megan is actually the last full program we did prior to COVID when we didn't have an online application. And one thing when we did paper applications is that it seemed like there was this huge opportunity for creativity, which absolutely there was, because I remember when Paint the Town applied, they had this huge thing with a paintbrush, and I mean, it was just beautiful. Being an online application does not mean you can't do some of that stuff still. You could have really great photos that you add into your narratives. We had an applicant last year that kind of really designed and stylized the pages that they were uploading for their narrative. So still be creative with it. But the great thing with the online application is that the judges are getting stuff in a much similar format. They weren't getting a box of these items that somebody submitted their application and then a folder. And then we didn't want that to be necessarily an initial glance that the judges were going, oh, well, these people must have spent more time on it than these ones. And that wasn't the case at all. And the judges were really good at considering all those things, but doing it online really allows for a more similar evaluation process than what we had before. But it doesn't mean you can't still be creative. And when we send this out tomorrow, there will be a list of, I think it's 7 different tips that you can look at. And one of them is about being creative. So if it is adding photos or stylizing, but think about your business and how you can tell that story, because it's not always just a long paragraph. There might be some other way that you can tell the story of your business.
That's great. And I also want to mention the applicant showcase again, because at that showcase, so when we were ready, so everybody gets a little table to talk about their business, and a lot of people come to that event that aren't award winners. So lots of other people come and you get to tell about your business. And I remember thinking, like, I design databases. What do you do with that? So, but we had just built a new website. So my husband dragged in a big TV monitor that we hooked up to a laptop, and we just showed our website. And then we had like a little business card thing that said what we did. And that was it. So, but it gave us a chance. We talked to a lot of different businesses, and we did get some new clients out of the process. In fact, the person who was the chair of the chamber who handed me the award, the next day, someone in his organization called and asked us for services, and they became our 3rd largest customer for 3 years. So it can happen. It doesn't always, but so you can have fun at the applicant showcase. It's a lot of great food, a lot of fun. We'll all be there cheering you on. It's a moment. Oh, we've got another one. Yeah.
So with the narratives, are you wanting information about our entire business, so from the start to where we are today, or just 1 year, like going back and looking at 2022?
I would say that's up to you. We've had applicants who have really kind of, I think what you need to do is really look at what's the best information that you're providing to the judges to tell the story of your business. And, you know, if you only focus on 7 years ago and not the recent, or if you think about the lifespan of your business, the growths, the challenges, and how can you tell that story? Also think that a judge is going to review several applications. So if you write about all 10 years that your business has been in business, that's a lot of information. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the most recent 3 years, which is what the finance percentages we ask for and the employee retention and numbers that we ask for, but it could go further than that if you want. So I don't want to say that there's one right way. It's just about how can you tell the best story of your business to help the judges know where you're at and where you're going. I don't know if you all want to add anything else in.
I will say that on that is that when you're telling your story, where we're at now in business, where we all are in business now, are a result of all the experiences that we had ever since we started the business. And so, whereas you don't want it to be too long so the judges don't get bored and going through that, make sure that, when you go over your story, you look at The important things are where you are at today, you know, and what worked and what didn't work, and put those into the story, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for the highlights, but make sure that you don't just go 3 years back and go, you know, because then they're thinking you were already here and now you're here, whereas before you were here and now you're all the way here.